Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all listen, I am happy that y'all were enjoying the story. It's a long story, and we're gonna be meeting new people along the way. And y'all said keep it going, so we're gonna keep it going. When I asked y'all if you like short form, long form, a lot of y'all was kind of like in the middle. So at the 15-minute, no more than 20-minute mark. But there were some people who like long form, like 30, 40 minutes, because they say that's what they listen to when they're working out, when they're cleaning up. So I'm going to try to batch a lot of this and like make 5 videos at a time and then drop them in the playlist because I'm going to turn this into a playlist. That way, everybody get a little bit of what they want, right? So we heard from Nate. We heard from Monica. So we got things from each of their perspectives. But now we're about to head back to Monica. Okay. And you know that she had went to work, right? Okay, so work was pretty hard for Monica because she couldn't get Nate off her mind. She tried calling him a couple of times at work, but his secretary said that he would be in meetings all day. After work, Monica went to the gym hoping to relieve some stress, but she just wasn't into it. So she cut her routine short. She just wanted to get home and try to work things out with her husband. But once she got there, she couldn't even make herself put the key in because she was scared of what could have been on the other side of the door. It was 7 o'clock, so she knew Nate should have been home, but she has been feeling like a day will come when she will open that door and Nate will be gone. And just the thought of him leaving her made her grow weak. So she rested her head against the door frame, trying not to cry, because she had done everything in her power to make things right between them. But Nate was not trying to hear her. He didn't listen when she talked to him. He didn't want her trying to console him. And he even stopped the meetings in the bedroom. But she knew why he felt the way he did. She had lied to Nate, even though she knew she didn't have to, but he found out that she lied. So Monica shares, how she found out she was pregnant. So her period didn't show up when it was supposed to. She went and got an at-home test. She took it as soon as she got home, and she knew she just had to be pregnant because she could feel it. She stood there trembling, waiting for the 2 lines to show up. Then, a moment later, the test read positive. 6 weeks later, Monica had a doctor's appointment. But while sitting in the doctor's office, she just had this feeling that something wasn't right. Plus, it was taking the doctor forever to come back into the room. So when the doctor finally came back, she said, "You took a home test to confirm you were pregnant, right?" And Monica says, "Yes." So the doctor says, "And how long do you think you've been pregnant?" Monica says, "What do you mean, think?" She told the doctor that she is pregnant. The test was positive. The doctor looked up from the folder sadly and asked Monica if her husband was with her, but he wasn't because he was at work. So the doctor suggested that she came back the next day with her husband, but Monica wanted her to tell her right then what was going on because the doctor was scaring her. So she asked, "Was everything okay with the baby?" The doctor says, "I'm sorry to inform you, but there is no baby." Monica couldn't believe the words that came out of the doctor's mouth. She said, "I am pregnant. The test I took confirmed that." So the doctor tells her sometimes at home tests can be wrong. Monica tells her that she missed her period and it's been 2 months. My body has been changing. I've been sick. I am pregnant. Maybe your test is wrong because I'm pregnant. The doctor saw how heartbroken Monica was and explained to her that their tests weren't wrong. They ran the test several times, including the blood and urine test, and the results came back with what the doctor had been suspecting. She told Monica, "The reason you've been feeling changes in your body, the sickness, the sore breast, weight gain, a change in your appetite, frequent urination, not having a period in 2 months, is because you're going through premature menopause." Monica grew pale as a ghost. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She said, "But I'm only 32. How could I have not known that?" The doctor asked her if she had been experiencing any hot flashes or had trouble sleeping. Have you been feeling moody? Monica said that she felt warm sometimes, a little sweaty some nights, and the doctor said those were some of the symptoms. Monica still wasn't able to process what the doctor was saying, so she asked her, "So, what do I do to get pregnant?" And the doctor gave her this confused look and said, "I'm sorry, but there's nothing you can do. You cannot get pregnant." Baby Monica fainted. The doctor called her before she fell out of the chair and told her to sit there while she ran to get her something. But Monica needed to get out of there and get away from the woman who told her that she could not get pregnant. She ran out of the office, and just as she was about to run down the stairs, she twisted her ankle and went tumbling down the long flight of stairs. They rushed her back into the doctor's office where she was examined by an ER physician, and he told her outside of a couple of deep tissue bruising, she'd be fine. So he gave her a prescription for some pain helpers, and all Monica could think was, no, I won't be fine. The baby that I thought I was growing inside of me, my doctor just told me it was a figment of my imagination. Monica made it home and had been practicing for hours how she would explain the news to Nate. And when he got there, he could tell she had been crying, even though she said everything was okay. So he asked her, what's wrong? What happened at the doctor's appointment? She said that she didn't make it to the doctor's appointment because she had an accident. Nate asked her if she was okay. Monica said that she was fine, but the baby. Nate braced himself, and then Monica said that the baby didn't make it. She didn't want to lie to Nate, but she had to. She felt like this would buy her some time to prove that doctor wrong, because they would be pregnant again. So then Monica snaps out of it and makes her way into the house. So as soon as she walked in, she was hit with the smell of paint fumes. She thought that Nate was getting some work done to the house. So she set her purse down and she walked around calling his name. There was no answer on the first floor, so she went upstairs. She saw that the nursery door was open, and when she walked in, she couldn't believe her eyes. Everything was black. The walls, the floorboards, the crown molding, even the ceiling. Nate was sitting on the floor with his back to Monica and his face resting on his knees. Monica just shook her head and wondered how much more of this could she take? How much more could they endure? So she asked Nate, and this is what, Nate? But Nate didn't turn around. He didn't respond or anything. So she asked him again. I said, and what is this, Nate? This time with a little more oomph in her voice. Nate still didn't respond. He just got up off the floor and walked past her. She grabbed his arm, spun him towards her, and laid a hand across his face, which made Nate stumble back a couple of steps. She said, don't you ever walk past me like I'm not standing here. I've been apologizing to you for 2 weeks, but it's all about poor old Nate. It's all about the pain you're experiencing. But what about me? I wanted kids too. I wanted us to have a family too. But you won't hear anything I have to say. You won't talk to me, look at me, meet me in the bedroom. Is it that effing bad, Nate? Do you want a divorce? And Nate finally spoke. And he asked her, and what if I did? And Monica couldn't believe he said that. She could not believe that those words came out of his mouth, but she couldn't let him see how it shook her to her core. So she said, then I'll sue your ass for everything you're worth. Woo, it's getting spicy, y'all. So now we're back with Nate, and he's reminiscing, right? So the night Monica told him about the loss of their baby was the worst day of his life. They cried for hours, they showered together, then got in bed. Monica asked him if he wanted to talk, but he couldn't because he was angry with her. He kept asking himself, why didn't she see the stairs? Why didn't she watch where she was going? He knew that it sounded very accusatory and that he was blaming her for the child's DEATH, but those were the feelings he had at the time. But he knew he would have to apologize for his behavior. The situation was on his mind heavy, and by that second day at work, he couldn't even make it through his whole day at work. So he came home because he was just feeling sick. He was laying on the couch trying to get the thoughts out of his head, but then the phone rang and there was someone calling to confirm an appointment for Monica. He waited until Monica got home to ask her about it. She was startled to see him there standing by the sofa. Nate asked her, who is Dr. Michaels? Monica tried to act like she didn't have a clue who he was referring to. And he was like, Dr. Michaels at the Ravenswood Fertility Clinic? Someone called to confirm your appointment on tomorrow at 9 a.m. Monica took the note, but she still acted like she didn't know what he was talking about. So Nate says, tell me why, if you just had a miscarriage, why would you be making an appointment to see a fertility specialist? But Monica, still acting like she didn't know what this man was talking about, Nate got fed up. He said, you know what, fine. I'll call and ask them myself. He got the number, made the call, and asked to speak with Dr. Michaels. Monica ran over, hung the phone up, and said, fine, just fine. With tears running down her cheeks, she admitted that she didn't fall, she didn't have a miscarriage, that her doctor told her that she was never really pregnant and that she would never have children. So I felt like my doctor wasn't right because I felt the baby inside of me. So I had to get a second opinion. And I didn't want to tell you anything until I knew the truth. So that's why I lied to you. Nate couldn't believe what he was hearing. Even when Monica tried to hug him, he just stepped away. And he told her that they'll go to her appointment together. So the next day, they went to the fertility clinic and they were there basically all day because of all the different tests that they had to run on Monica. Finally, Dr. Michaels came in and told her, you know, what your first doctor told you, it was correct. Monica gasped and started crying. Nate asked the doctor to explain it all to him so that he could understand what it all meant. So Dr. Michaels says that women are born with a finite number of eggs, which are stored in the ovaries. And the ovaries also produce estrogen and progesterone. And those regulate ovulation and menstruation. Once the ovaries are depleted of eggs, menopause occurs. And the regulating hormones cannot force them to work. And when this happens to a woman before the age of 40, it's called premature menopause. They can no longer produce eggs, which means they can no longer get pregnant. So Nate says, well, isn't there any other way? And Dr. Michael says, without eggs, no. Nate just didn't understand. He wanted to know, how could someone go through all of this without symptoms? Dr. Michael says there may have been symptoms, and what alarms most women is the absence of their periods. And since you all were trying to conceive, she thought she was pregnant. She mistook the premenopausal symptoms as pregnancy symptoms. It's a mistake that commonly occurs. And even though this runs in your wife's family, with both her mother and sister experiencing this much later than she did, there was no way that she, and before the doctor could finish his statement, Nate said, what did you just say? Monica looked up at Dr. Michaels like, bruh, you're talking too much. Dr. Michaels caught the look and he looked at Monica apologetically and said, your wife informed me that her mom and her sister both went through the same thing. They both went through premature menopause. Then Monica says, but my mom was 40 and my sister was 43. I'm in my early 30s. This was not supposed to happen to me this early. Nate looks at his wife and then looks at the doctor and says, hold up. So you're telling me we could have gotten pregnant 2, maybe 3 years ago, that everything would have been fine. We would have had a baby? Dr. Michaels looked at Monica, then at Nate and said, that's correct. Nate couldn't believe it. Not only had his wife lied to him about having a miscarriage, she also withheld the fact that she risked the chance of not being able to have children after a certain age. And what enraged him more than anything was that she knew all of this and still made him wait. And she knew from the very first date how much he wanted kids, to have a beautiful little family. But she wants to say that she hadn't expected the premature menopause to happen so early, but to Nate, there was no excuse. And now she was the only reason why he could never have what he always wanted with his wife and what she's claiming that she really wanted. Y'all, I hope you're down in the comments letting me know what you're thinking, all right? So when Monica got to work the next day, she was furious that Nate said he may want a divorce. And she asked Tabitha if she thought that he really meant what he said. And Tabitha was like, girl, if you only knew how much men say that they really don't mean. But if he did, go ahead with it. You know how paid you'll be? And Monica let her know that she didn't want the money. She wanted her marriage to work. But Tabitha said, right now, you're just saying that. But you know you're entitled to the money. You've been a wife for 4 years. You went from a one bedroom Southside apartment to a penthouse downstairs, from an old Corolla to a Mini Cooper. So all I'm trying to say is you become accustomed to a certain way of life. It's his responsibility to make sure you don't lose that lifestyle. Just because he's upset that you can't have kids, which is no fault of your own, that is something you can't control. You don't want to go back to living paycheck to paycheck like I am, because there is nothing fun about that. Monica heard her out, but told her that she isn't worried about any of that because her and Nate were not going to get a divorce. It's just, no, they just going through something right now. But everything gonna be okay. Yeah, okay, Tabitha said. Those are some very famous last words. Then she walked off to go help a customer. When Monica got home later that evening, she couldn't stop thinking about whether or not Nate was serious about wanting a divorce. So she made dinner so that, they at least can eat together. But Nate was not in the mood. He was just staring down at his plate, pushing the food around. Then Monica broke the silence by letting him know that she didn't mean what she said when she told him that she would take him for everything he owned. And she let him know that she just wanted things to go back to how they were when they used to laugh and have fun. When they used to have a disagreement, they'll work through it and things would be all right. Nate looked at Monica and told her that it can't be like that again because she lied to him and withheld things that she knew he needed to know. Monica said, but I told you that I didn't think that would happen so soon. And Nate was getting frustrated because whether she knew when it was going to happen or not, she never told him about her family history at all when it came to premature menopause. She didn't give him a choice in the situation. Nate slammed his fork down and told her that it wasn't just her. It's just not about you because the decision she made affected him too. He said, you knew how much I wanted a family, how much I still want one, and you decided not to tell me something as important as that. Nate threw his napkin on the plate, got up from the table, and told her that things would never go back to the way that they were. So Monica asked him, what did all of that mean? Are you saying that you really want a divorce? It took Nate a minute to answer, but with his back to her, he said, no, I do not want to divorce you. And he went upstairs. Monica stayed downstairs, a couple of hours, and then she finally got into bed. Nate was asleep. She was happy that he really didn't want a divorce, but she knew there were still problems. She tossed and she turned, and she was still wide awake, and she knew why. And it was because they hadn't been intimate since he found out that she lied. And before that, they were getting it in every couple of days. She needed to be with her husband. Her body demanded it. So Monica rolled over to face her husband. She wanted to wake him and ask him, but she knew that he would probably turn her down. So she decided that she didn't need to get consent and he didn't have to be awake. So she reached for him under the blankets and she felt him pulsating like a drum line and wondered if he was feeling like that, why didn't he just allow them to please each other? So she wrapped her hands around him and slowly started stroking him, trying not to wake him up, because if he was to wake up and see what she was doing, he would jump out of bed and start going off about her deceiving him again. So she gently took her hand off of him, and being that Nate was a heavy sleeper, she was able to get his pajama pants down low enough for her to turn around and scoot up against it, and he entered effortlessly, but with enough resistance that almost made her rain down on him right then and there. But she fought it because she wanted it to last as long as it could. Then she felt him move and they made her nervous. So she looked back, but he was still asleep. But she knew that it wouldn't be for long. So she continued because she wanted him to remember how good they were together, how in sync they were, what all they had been missing not being together. So she slowly changed her position and straddled him, And with every stroke, she could feel her muscles tightening, her lips numbing, and her body was giving off signals that she was about to release in any second. And just when she thought she was about to, she heard Nate call her name. But it wasn't in the way that the neighbors could hear it. And she tried to ignore him and just take it all in. And this time he asked her what was she doing as he stared up at her. He didn't have 1 ounce of pleasure in his voice. And that made her package that was on its way for a fast delivery pause in transit, even though she could still feel it idling. She begged Nate to just let it happen as she continued short strides up and down the pipe. But Nate told her to stop. He tried to pull himself out, but she clamped down on him, securing him in place and told him that she wanted to feel him release. And since he kind of relaxed a little bit and wasn't trying to get her off of him, she was hopeful. But then Nate asked her, why? What good will it do? Nothing will come of it. And just like that, the tingling and numbing was all gone. Her husband had wiped all of that away with just a few words. So she just lay there atop of him. A tear streamed down her cheek and it dropped on the bed. She raised herself up and just looked at her husband. More tears came. She didn't wipe them away. She just let them fall on his chest. She wanted him to see how badly she was hurt. And then she said, I just thought maybe this would help us. And he responded matter of factly, you were wrong. He pulled out and got her up off of him. At 8:30 that morning, he was downstairs waiting for valet to bring him his car. When he looked around, he saw his 62 Bentley that he won at an auction for $150K. But with all the money that he had put into it, he knew that it was worth more. That was his baby. He drove on to work. When the elevator doors opened, he walked into Kenny Corporations. He was greeted by his 2 receptionists and some more of his employees. Then he stopped by the flat screen TV that aired financial news reports 24 hours a day, and proceeded on to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the northwest side of Chicago, with a beautiful view of the skyline, Lake Michigan, and the far north side. As he stood there, he realized that he never really appreciated the view or his accomplishments or his success because he was too busy making his dreams come to pass. But as he was standing there, he thought it was such a shame that it took someone threatening to take it all to make him pay attention to what all he had. He reminisced about telling Monica that he wanted to leave his brokerage and open his own, but he was waiting on a woman he could trust, one who will allow him to take care of his business at work and assure him that home will be taken care of. And Monica did that for him. And over the 4 years, Monica was more than just his supporter. She was his partner and his best friend. He remembered all of the good times they had together before she lied. And now he realized that the woman he married, the woman who knew how much family meant to him, had sabotaged his opportunity to have what he always wanted. That same woman told him that she would take him for everything that he owned. But Nate was not going to let that happen. That would never happen. If it was the last thing he did, he will stop her. All right, y'all. I need y'all in the comments. I need you to tell me how would you feel. How would you feel if you found out that that person lied, that they really didn't have a miscarriage, that they even lied about going to the appointment? How would you feel once you got with Dr. Michaels and Dr. Michaels brought up that premature menopause ran in the family and you didn't know about it? How would you react when you're trying to be intimate with your husband and he's not feeling you when he gets you up off of him? Like, what are the feelings that you will have? What will be the emotions? Because what you feel like, well, at this point, if you know that she lied, you know she can't have kids, and you want a family, why don't you just divorce her? Why don't you just leave? What's the point of just taking her through all this turmoil if you already know what the end result is? Get down in the comments, y'all. Let me know. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And I'll talk to y'all later.